So this evening, I thought we would focus on the thoracic spine, or the space behind the heart, I like to call it. We did a heart opening yin practice on Friday, and it was really reminding me of when we say we're opening the heart, this whole kind of thoracic area, basically. We tend to over focus on the front and do the kind of front opening, back bending, but as part of that, most of us have quite limited, a kind of a stuckness behind the space behind the heart, literally, so round about the shoulder blades. So I thought we'd really try and get into that area. It's an interesting practice. The reason we tend to have a stuckness there is partly mechanical, because the spine between, so we have like the lumbar spine at the base, the cervical spine at the neck, and in between is called the thoracic spine. It's basically from the base of the ribs to the base of the neck, 12 vertebrae. And these vertebrae are different because they also attach to the ribs. They're not free. They're also kind of linked in with the ribs. So they have less mobility naturally. And that's for an intelligent reason. That's because it's also protecting the lungs and the heart. So it's performing a dual purpose of protection, like this encasement and mobility. So it's a little bit compromised, but compounding that for most people is that we tend to get stuck in the kyphosis, kind of on your computer, driving your car, shoulders forward, over exaggerating the natural kind of outward curve in this area. So it just tends to get quite stuck, and weak. So we'll do a bit of strengthening, a bit of opening. And what's lovely about this practice is it's really helping you breathe as well. So we'll kind of explore the breath. So let's just start seated, and we'll just do some conscious deep breaths, and if I remember, I'll try and remember, we'll also do that at the end and compare, when we have this focus, how freely we breathe before and after the practice. So just get yourself comfortable, sit on a block if you need, just free up this area a little bit if you need by just moving the shoulders, and then let the shoulders settle, let the spine be free. Maybe close the eyes just to start to bring the awareness inwards, or have a soft gaze. Hands in any comfortable position. And just bring your awareness to your breath and start to deepen the breath. Feeling just as we kind of settle in, always just starting with that kind of rooting, anchoring feeling in the lower body. So just really being aware of your seat, aware of your legs and pelvis meeting the ground, so we feel earthed. And then from that, just deepening the breath. And just kind of feel in your body where you can feel the breath moving as you take a deep breath in. Where in the body do you sense that movement? Is it more in the front of the body, in the lower torso, is it in the side? And can you perceive it in the back body? And even more specifically, can you feel it filling the heart space at the front, kind of the spaces to the side of the heart as the torso gets broader as you inhale, but also that space behind the heart? So just kind of imagining roughly where you feel the heart to be, kind of just left of center, mid-upper chest. And see if we can, with our awareness, just start to breathe space into the area behind the heart space. But not just on the left side, actually. Let's just say the whole of the back at that level. So you might, as you breathe, slow deep breaths in and out through the nose, you might have a sense of the shoulder blades. We're going to work a lot with the shoulder blades today. The shoulder blades broadening and spreading like wings as you inhale. And drawing back together as you exhale, and sinking down a little bit. Take 2 or 3 more slow, deep, conscious breaths, kind of probing your body to feel where the breath is creating space, and then also trying to create even more space with our awareness, particularly in this thoracic area. So when I'm talking about the thoracic area, I'm talking about the area of the torso, really where the rib cage is, which is quite a large area. And then at the end of your next exhale, just kind of make a mental note of how that felt, because we'll compare. And then find your block or your brick. A brick's going to be ideal because it's super solid. But if you don't have a brick, you could use a block or a bolster. But we're just going to come into a thoracic opener. So we're going to lie down and your brick's going to be across the back. And it's more or less that the upper edge of the brick is kind of touching the lower edge of your scapula, your shoulder blades. And what we're looking for is a sense that the heart space is being lifted up passively. So if it's too high up towards the neck, you're going to be on the neck spine and it's not going to be so behind the heart. If it's too far down, again, it's not going to be behind the heart. So we're looking for this chest, upper chest to be lifting here, and the shoulder tips drop down. You can do whatever you want with the legs, straight legs, bent knees, maybe even sort of Baddha Konasana, soles of the feet together, knees wide. But we're really focusing on the upper back. And just take time to settle here. The corners of the brick can feel a little bit uncomfortable to begin with. But we just focus on trusting the support, knowing nothing bad's going to happen here. Obviously, if you're feeling any inappropriate pain, then come out. But if not, nothing bad is going to happen here. So we can just start to soften. We can just let go of the muscle guarding and create a more soft, yielding interface between the hardness of the block and our body. So we don't want to meet hardness with hardness. So just start to soften the skin and the muscle so that it just kind of molds around the block, and it should start to feel more comfortable. So just again, become aware of your breath. And hopefully in this position, you might be a little bit more aware of the breath in the thoracic back area. As you breathe in, it's like the back presses into the brick and the sensation between your body and the brick shifts as the body expands in this area. If you feel you could take a little bit more here, you could take the arms overhead and either stretch the arms back or maybe hold the opposite elbow. If that just feels too uncomfortable in the back, and come back to your hands where they were, that's going to make it easier to kind of soften into the brick. If it feels okay, take the arms back just to increase the volume or the space, the internal space of the thoracic area, and take some more slow, deep breaths. As you exhale, try and soften those muscles around the brick as best you can. And inhale fully, maybe even just pausing at the top of each inhale for a couple of seconds. At full capacity. Take one more, or finish the round you're on, and then take one more full round, full inhale. And complete exhale. Okay, we're going to come off and just lie on the floor again. So the best thing to do probably is roll to one side, remove the block, and then just lie yourself back down on the floor and just feel, it should feel quite nice after that, just feel the spine settle into its neutral curves again. So we were just putting it into a thoracic opener, and just breathe again. When we move the spine, the body takes the path of least resistance, and we tend to overbend in the lumbar spine and the neck spine, lower back and the upper and the neck spine, because these are the more mobile areas. So that's another reason why this midsection just gets kind of neglected and stuck. So we're going to really focus on this part of the spine today, which will mean we won't be able to bend as deeply, but it will be effective. So when you're ready, we're going to roll to one side and come up to seated. So just in your own time. Meet in seated. Maybe already as you breathe, you can feel more of a space and an awareness in that area of the body. And then we're going to use the breath. So take a big inhale to raise the hands above the head, interlace the fingers and stretch the palms up to the ceiling as you drop the tailbone down. So we're trying to create length in the spine and traction the spine, space between the vertebrae. As lower back, lower spine descends, crown of the head ascends. Take a big inhale here. And then as you exhale, take the left hand down and lean over to the left with the right hand. So we're really working with this whole thoracic area today, so we're not going to neglect the side body. Really breathe into your right side ribs. Expanding as you inhale. Just letting it all sink down as you exhale. On your next inhale, come back up, raise both hands, interlace the hands again, and if you can work it out, put the other little finger on the outside. If you can't, don't worry. Again, it's like a deliberate dropping of the tailbone, so you might feel this core switch on as you do that, and a pressing up of the palms. I'm sorry, my hands are off the screen, but I'm basically pressing my palms away, but upwards. Draw the shoulders down away from the ears without losing that extension in the side body. Stretch the skin of the palms, drawing the little finger and the thumbs towards the head. And then as you exhale, bring the right hand down, bring the left hand over. And again, use the breath to open the side body, to open this thoracic rib area on the left side. And then inhale to come up. Bring the hands behind you, maybe 10 centimeters or so, fingertips point forward, and lift the space behind the heart. So from the side, it's a back bend, but we're not so much bending in the lower back here. We're lifting the best top on today for this, but we're lifting the upper chest. Upper chest is ascending. You can keep the chin tucked in or slightly lift it. And it's like we're kind of trying to draw the shoulder blades together and kind of down the spine. This is an action we're going to be doing a lot today. Breathe into the space behind the heart. And then bring yourself back to upright and walk the hands forward. So just make the most of this because we won't be doing this too much, but just allow the head to drop so the back can kind of round more into that kyphosis shape where we kind of over-round the upper back. But we're going to do it deliberately and really use this posture to breathe into again, this space behind the heart. So this is the shape that the back tends to get stuck in. The muscles are in a stretched position, but they get weak. But here, we come into the position deliberately, and then we use super deep, nourishing breaths to bring life back to this area. So really, when we come into this more rounded back version, just use your awareness and your deep breathing to kind of revitalize the space behind the heart with your breath. And then walk the hands back in. And when you're ready, we're going to come onto our hands and knees. So if you can, rock straight over or bring the legs around the side. Remember, if load bearing on your wrists is too much, come onto your elbows or try taking the hands a little bit further in front of the shoulders. Okay, so we're going to cat-cow, but we're going to try and just, to begin with, cat-cow in the thoracic spine. This is really difficult. It's very minimal movement. So as we inhale, it's like we're trying not to move the lower back. It's just that we draw the shoulder blades together and drop the space between the shoulder blades. And as we exhale, we press that upper back up to the ceiling and feel the shoulder blades widen. So there's not going to be much up and down movement at all. And it's going to feel possibly a little bit frustrating because it's such a minimum range of movement, but we have to kind of stick within this minimal range of movement to get into the thoracic spine. Otherwise, we just, again, the body just goes into the neck spine and the lumbar spine. And once again, the thoracic spine gets left out. So really try and discipline yourself to feel like you're just working with the scapula, drawing, kind of lift as you inhale. It's like we sink the space between the shoulder blades so they stick up like wings. As we exhale, we press the space between the shoulder blades up. So just do what you can. I know it's hard. Just a couple more. And hopefully you start to feel the muscles working a little bit in this area between the shoulder blades. most people have really stuck sore muscles in this area. And then just to appease the body, just take a few full cat-cow. So inhale, lifting the tailbone now, and exhale, drawing it under and including the neck spine as well. And just observe in your own body just how much more freedom there is when we start to allow the lumbar spine and the neck spine to get involved. So because we tend to overuse these parts, it's like the thoracic spine becomes like a board, a flat board. And we want to make sure, even though it has a small range of movement, we want to make sure that we use every part of this range of movement so that it doesn't get stuck. Okay, and then finish on the end of your next exhale, just come back to neutral. Lean into your left hand, which is kind of underneath your left shoulder. And just if it's okay for your shoulder, just bring your right hand onto your lower back for a moment and feel it kind of flat, like you can serve a dish of it. And then draw your right shoulder back towards the spine, trying not to move the lower back. And then from there, extend the right arm. It probably isn't going to be vertical. If to get vertical, we'd have to kind of move the lower back. We don't want to do that. Look up to your right hand, push down through your left hand, and then exhale, feed the right hand through and come in to thread the needle. Now we're twisting all the way into the lower back as well. Reach the left hand forward, come onto the fingertips, and or you can bring it, it doesn't have to be all the way, the elbow can be bent, but we kind of press through the fingertips to draw the left shoulder back towards the spine. A bit deeper into the twist. So you should feel the muscles behind the left shoulder blade working. Breathe deep. And then release, press down through the left hand. Just bring that right hand all the way back up again. Try not to move the lower back. And then exhale, release it down. Come to the other side. Lean into the right hand. If you like, just take the left hand onto the lower back again first to draw the left shoulder back with this kind of discipline, and just be kind of acknowledge it's just going to be a little bit frustrating tonight, not the big range of movement. Extend that left hand up, press down through the right hand. So we're kind of twisting, hopefully just in the thoracic spine here. It's not going to be a big twist. And then exhale, feed the left hand through, bring the side of the left hand down, the left side of the head down. And then again, for today, just walk the right fingertips forward a little bit, elbows bent and pointing up to the ceiling. And then we press through the fingertips to kind of twist a little bit deeper here. Breathe deep. And then bring the right hand back down, come back to tabletop. We're going to transition into downward dog. So just have your hands slightly in front of your shoulders and tuck your toes under and bring yourself up to downward dog. Feet hip distance apart, looking back towards the feet so the neck's relaxed. Spread the fingertips, spread the toes. And even here we can do a little bit of that kind of thoracic movement. You can just see if you can get the same feeling of cat-cow just between the shoulder blades. I'm just having a little go here. Just have a play, might not feel very much. And then come back to that neutral position between those two extremes. Find the neutral curves of the spine, bend the knees if you need. Breathe deep, try to breathe into the space behind the heart. And then come high onto your toes. Roll yourself forward to the plank. If the plank is too much, bring the knees down. And feel like you're squeezing a block between the thighs. Elongate the tailbone, lift the front body up towards the spine. And then press actively through the hands to widen and broaden the space between the shoulder blades. So it's like we're pushing the floor away. We're almost in a cat spine. One more breath. And then bring the knees down. Bring the chin and the chest down, keeping the hips high. Stay in Ashtangasana, so the chin and the chest come down. We draw the shoulders back, squeeze the shoulder blades together. And then slide the legs down behind you and inhale, come up to a baby cobra. So you're not using your hands at all. You're using these upper back muscles to lift the chest. Just take a couple of breaths here, drawing the shoulders back away from the ears, neck long. And then press through the hands. Again, lift yourself back up to tabletop, back up to plank if you can. Find again that almost cat spine in the upper back, and then come back to downward dog. And just take a couple of breaths here. Great, and then from here, walk or step or jump the feet to the hands. Just notice my feet are a little bit dirty. And then bring the hands to the shins. So usually we just kind of flop here and we're in that more rounded back position, but we want to keep this, it's almost like a back bend. So your brick could be quite handy today if you've got tight hamstrings. You could put the hands on the brick instead or the shins, but we're trying to kind of draw the shoulders back, squeeze the shoulder blades together and down the spine and lift the chest. So almost back bending, and the knees of course can be bent if you need. Just keep the neck long, take a couple of breaths. And then from here, sink the hips, come into the chair. So raise the hands, so the knees are bent, the hips are low, and we're raising the hands up as high as they'll go, and then looking towards the hands. So this is a great one for strengthening the upper back as well as opening it. A version of Utkatasana with the feet hip distance apart. So extend up through the fingertips. One more breath. Big breaths. And then inhale, stretch up. Exhale, release the hands to the side. Okay. So we're going to flow through some sun salutations, but every time we do a forward fold, we'll just do that kind of more concave back version that we just did. Okay, so I'll guide us through it. So come to stand at the front of the mat, spread the toes. Before we flow, just interlace the hands behind the back and press the knuckles down towards the floor. If you're very open, you can squeeze the palms together as well. So this is this depression of the shoulder blades. We're drawing them down and together. This is an action we want to encourage. Release the hands, but keep the shoulders where they are. So the chest is lifting. We're using these back muscles between the shoulder blades. Legs are strong. Use the inhale to raise the hands and look up, stretch up. Exhale, forward fold. Just for a moment, drop the head. Inhale, look up, and just take an extra breath here. So we're hands on the shin or hands on the floor or on a block. And then as you exhale, hands down, step back to plank or tabletop. Really feel the strength in the upper back by pushing the floor away. Take a big inhale. As you exhale, lower down, so you could do knees on the floor as before, or chaturanga, but come all the way down and inhale, just come up to a cobra again. We'll build it up. And then exhale, release, tuck the toes under, back to downward dog. Taking a couple of breaths. Breathing into the space behind the heart. Releasing the neck. Release the jaw. At the end of the exhale, look forward, walk step. We'll jump the feet forwards. Inhale, look up and lengthen. Take an extra breath. And then on your next exhale, drop the head just for a moment, feel the difference, and then use the inhale to raise the hands above the head. Exhale, hands to the side. Okay. And again, inhale up. Maybe a slight back bend here. Exhale, forward fold. So just momentarily drop the head, and then we're going to inhale, look up and lengthen, and exhale here. Inhale again. Exhale, plant the hands, step. We'll jump back to the plank or tabletop, knees down. Inhale here, pushing the floor away, broadening the shoulder blades. Exhale, lower down, knees on or off the floor. Inhale, if you want, come to a baby cobra again, or if you do want to come up higher, do just be aware that you'll be in your lower back then and feel the difference. And exhale, back to downward dog. So I invite you to just stay with baby cobra today. But if all this kind of very limited range of motion just starts to frustrate your body a little bit, it could be a good opportunity to do an upward dog. if your lower back needs the stretch too in the sun salutations. One more deep breath here. And then at the end of the exhale, look forward, walk, step or jump the feet to the hands. Inhale, hands to the floor or shins, look up and lengthen. Exhale here and pause. Inhale again. Exhale for a moment, drop the head towards the shins. Inhale, raise the hands, reach and stretch, hips forward slightly, hands back, and exhale, hands to the side. And one more. Inhale, take it up, maybe a slight back bend, extend up through the fingertips. Exhale, forward fold, briefly dropping the head. Inhale, look up, lengthen. Exhale, pause, drawing the shoulders back. Inhale again here. Exhale, plant the hands, step, jump, walk back to plank or tabletop. Inhale here, push the floor away. We're going to take an extra breath. Exhale here. Inhale again, strong legs, open the space between the shoulder blades, and exhale, lower down. All the way to the floor, invitation. Inhale, just do your baby cobra or deeper if you wish. Exhale, push back, downward dog. Pause, release the neck. Breathe into the back body. Breathe space into the parts of the back that feel tight and restricted. And at the end of the exhale, look forward, walk, step, jump, feet to the hands. Inhale, look up, lengthen, draw the shoulders back, chest forward, exhale here. Inhale again. Exhale, drop the head to the shins. Inhale, press through the feet, raise yourself up, reach and stretch. And exhale, hands back to the side. Just pause here for a moment, maybe again, interlacing the hands behind the back. Feel the shoulder blades, I'm just turning the lights on. And then from here, step the feet to hip distance apart. Bring the hands to the hips. Again, if your hamstrings are tight, you might need a brick at this point. Inhale, lift the chest and roll the shoulders back. Feel like you're squeezing a beach ball between the elbows. And then exhale, forward fold. So just bring the hands down to the floor. And if you can't reach the floor, use your block. So blocks have 3 heights. We're going to come into a twist. So take your right hand underneath your face onto the floor. We want to press down through the palm. So if you can't press the floor with the palm, use a brick on any of its 3 heights. Left hand is on the lower back again. We feel the lower back like a flat plate. And then we draw the left shoulder back, trying to keep the lower back flat like a plate. And then if it feels okay in the shoulder, we raise the left hand. But because we're twisting only in the thoracic spine, you might not be able to get that left arm vertical, and it might just feel a bit impinged and restricted in the shoulder. So you might want to keep the hand on the lower back. Up to you. Press down through the right hand, reach through left fingertips, try not to move the lower back. If you're unsure, just check with the heel of your left hand. Exhale, release the left hand down. Swap sides, bring the right hand onto the lower back. Feel it flat like a plate. Draw the right shoulder back, try not to move the lower back. And either stay there, if that just feels enough, or maybe raise the right hand. And look up. Press down through the left hand, reach up through the right hand. We're only twisting in the upper back, not the lower back. Lower back doesn't move. Exhale, release. Bring the hands to the hips, bend the knees. Inhale, come up. We're going to revisit the chair. We're actually just going to use the wall for a moment. I just want to check if anybody's got a problem with using a wall. You don't need much space, just let me know. If you've got a problem using a wall, you can just do it in the middle of on your mat, the chair again. We're going to do the chair and downward dog at the wall, so you could do it on your mat if you haven't got wall space. But we should all have enough wall space just for our body. So we're going to, if you want to use a block, you can. It's not essential, but it all helps for me. We're going to come to the wall. Your hips are going to be slightly above the knees. If you're super strong, it could be in line with the knees, but it doesn't need to be. And we're going to press the back against the wall and raise the hands. Okay, so this is just giving us some feedback. And we're going to squeeze the butt. We're going to try and stay for 10 breaths. 1, press the back into the wall. 2, reach up through the fingertips. 3, squeeze the block if you've got a block. 4, otherwise the legs are together and you squeeze the thighs. 5. Breathe to the space behind the heart. 6. 7. 8. 9. And 10. Bring the hands behind you, press yourself up to stand. And then staying at the wall, we're just going to do a downward dog, a version of downward dog at the wall. I'm going to have to turn my back to you because that's the way the wall is. But you're going to take your hands in line with the shoulders. So imagine there's a wall in front of my hands here. I'm pressing my hands, come where you can see, up the wall, pressing shoulder width apart, feet underneath the hips. So it would be further back actually. And really press. This is opening and strengthening the upper back. Okay, so you want your feet to be directly beneath your hips. You can squeeze a block if you want, then the feet would have to be closer together. And then you need to just press through the hands. If you're quite open in the upper back like I am, there's a tendency to sag. I don't know whether you can see that, but I'm doing it now. And so your job is to connect to your core and lift up that upper rib area to find a neutral curve in the spine. If we're more tight in the upper back, then just press through the hands as much as you can, and this is going to help open. Have a little look, a couple more breaths. Bernie, I think you need to come further away from, your back should be flat, like you're in downward dog. You're making an L shape. So bring your hands further down so they're in line with the shoulders. Yeah, L shape. Great, Orla. So Penny, you're pretty open. I can't quite see, but it looks like you might be, yes, like you might be sagging a little bit in the chest. Beautiful, Miriam. Beautiful, Kaz. Possibly a little bit, again, you're quite open, so just really connect to your core. Okay, so to come out of this, you can just walk your feet closer to the wall and come out, but hopefully you all felt that as a kind of a stretch and strengthener in the upper back. I'm finding it very beneficial myself at the moment. Okay, come back to your mat now and come to stand at the front of the mat, and we'll just flow into a couple of postures that are going to help your upper back. So when you're ready, inhale, raise the hands and look up, stretching up. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, look up and step the left foot back and bring the left knee down. Okay, so we're coming into crescent moon lunge, come onto the top. You can keep the back toe tucked under actually, if that's better for you, or top of the foot. And then inhale, raise the hands. So we don't want to collapse completely in the lower body, connect to your core. From here, we're going to, with the hands together above the head, bend the elbows and bring the thumbs to touch kind of the nape of the neck, just behind the head. And then it's like you're leaning back and pressing the head into the forearms. And at the same time, you're lifting that space behind the heart. So there's not a big arch in the lower back, but it's like, imagine if I was in the room with you, I could come behind you and I could just poke my finger kind of inwards and upwards behind your heart space. And this is what we're lifting. We're lifting the ribs, we're lifting the chest, we're lifting the space behind the heart. We're pressing the head back into the forearms. Inhale, and as you exhale, release the hands down. Just for a moment, take half splits, half Hamanasta. So walk the hands back, keep the right heel where it is, and just fold over that front shin. If you've got 2 blocks, use 2 blocks, because there's 2 ways of doing this stretch. We can just round the back and fold, or we can work more with this kind of flat back, almost like a back bend. So obviously that's our theme today, so that's my invitation. So rather than trying to get the head down, it's almost like you're trying to get the chest forward. And when we forward fold in this way, it's a bit more active, it's a little bit more hard work. We want to feel those upper back muscles working. And then at the end of your next exhale, bring the right foot down, tuck the back toe under. You have a choice. You can take downward dog or child's pose, or you could come back through the plank, feeling the strength in the upper back here, and exhaling lower down. Inhale, take your back bend, maybe using full spinal back bend, just to feel that expansive movement, and then exhale, downward dog. Wherever you got to with that, when you're ready, step your left foot between the hands and bring your right knee down. Come onto the top of the right foot, or toe tucked under. Inhale, raise the hands, feeling the integrity in the lower body so we don't just collapse into the lower back and get that overarch in the lower back. We want to kind of draw the tailbone under and then bend the elbows, thumbs touch the back of the neck, lean the head back into the upper arms. It's quite a strong shoulder stretch. Lift the chest, lift the kind of ribs, like you're trying to increase the space between the hip bones and the ribs, the lower ribs. Stretching the belly and lift the space behind the heart. Feel an imaginary finger kind of poking inwards and upwards behind your heart space to encourage that lift. Breathe into the upper back. One more breath. Then as you exhale, release the hands down, slide the hips back, keeping the left heel where it is, walking the hands back, using blocks if you need, and coming into, again, if it's available, that more open-chested, concave-backed or flat-backed version of the forward fold. So we still get the hamstring stretch, but we also get this upper back work. At any point, you know, if you feel your body needs more of that rounding upper back, as we all have different bodies, then take it. But I'm inviting a real focus on the thoracic spine today, because otherwise, as I say, it tends to get neglected. And exhale, bring the left foot down. Again, your choice. Take child's pose, downward dog, or another vinyasa. Really focusing on the upper back, almost like a cat spine, you know, lifting the upper back to the ceiling. If you, whichever back bend you choose, really draw the shoulder blades together, back and down. And then we meet with the right foot between the hands. So if you're in child's pose, come to your knees. And then if you can, step the right foot forward. This time stay on the toe of the back foot and inhale your way up to a high lunge. So we've got the right knee kind of above the ankle or behind, and the back leg's very strong. Draw the tailbone under. Inhale, really reach up. Then as you exhale, come into those cactus arms or goalpost arms. So it's like we're resisting our own effort as we bring the shoulders, the elbows down, in line with the shoulders, or maybe even below and behind the shoulders, palms face forward. And we look up and we lift the space behind the heart. It should feel like a big opener on the front of the chest and lots of work going on in the back body. One more breath. On your inhale, reach up, bring the palms together as you exhale at the center of the chest. Twist towards your right leg, and then extend your right arm backwards. And then extend your left arm forwards, and then look towards your right hand, or if you need to look forward, look forward. So again, we're trying to just twist in the upper back here. To come out of this, inhale one more time, come all the way up into the high lunge, stretch, arms up. Exhale, take the hands down, and then child's pose, downward dog or vinyasa with this real focus on the upper back. With the breath. If you're in child's pose, come to your knees. If you're in downward dog, look forward, and everybody now step the left foot forward between the hands or bring it forward. Stay on the toes of the back foot. Inhale, raise the hands. Just check your left knee is kind of above the left ankle or behind. Draw the tailbone under. Extend dynamically up through the fingertips. Breathe into the thoracic area. And then again, resist your own weight. It's like you're at the gym pulling that bar down behind your head. We exhale, slide the shoulders and the elbows down and back into this goalpost or cactus arms, lifting the space behind the heart. Looking up slightly if that's okay for our balance. So there's a little bit of back bend, but hopefully more feeling it in the upper back. And breathe into that upper back area. Deep breaths. On your next inhale, slide those hands back up into the full position, and then exhale, bring the palms together at the center of the chest. Twist towards the left, towards your bent leg. Extend the left arm back, reach the right arm forward. So it's hopefully just feeling this more in the upper back. It's like the hip bones are facing forward. Breathe fully. And then on your next inhale, just return to the high lunge, hands up. Exhale, release the hands down. And last time again, if you want to vinyasa, vinyasa with upper back awareness, otherwise child's pose or downward dog. And then let's for a moment just take a child's pose, just to give us a chance to feel the opposite of what we're doing, for balance. So just come to classic balasana, head comes down, hips on heels, shoulders drop forward, and feel that kind of rounded back. And again, every time we come to this shape today, we want to nourish this, we're kind of opening the space behind the heart, and we want to nourish it with our breath and our awareness. So just take some deep breaths into that part of the body. Great, and then when you're ready, just come back up to tabletop or downward dog. We're going to step the right foot forward again, so you can do it from your knees if you prefer. But when you're ready, bring that right foot forward between the hands. We're coming into Parsvottanasana, so we don't need such a big gap between the heels now, so you can kind of bring the back foot closer. Left toes are in front of the heel, and the hips are facing forward. And again, if you've got two blocks, amazing. If you can't find the floor. If you've only got one, you can put one in front of the foot. Because again, there's different ways of doing this posture. We can just drop the head and round the back, very kind of classic. Or again, we can work more with the chest moving forwards and the back kind of more flat or even concave. So use blocks if you can't get that on the floor, that effect. And so we're not folding in towards the front leg today. Try to square the hips forward, firm the thighs. We're going to transition from here into our balance, warrior three. But if you prefer, with today's theme, you could use the blocks again. So if you want to do a half balance, at this point, you take your hands kind of quite far out in front of you on the blocks, so that when you step forward, they will be more or less underneath your shoulders. And we raise the left leg. Okay, and you're working with pressing down through the hands to feel again that flatness in the back, the spine in its neutral curves. If you then feel from here that you can keep that and reach the arms forward, this is strong work for the upper back for the full posture. But ideally, we want to stretch the hands forward today, not back behind us. Or use the blocks. Internally rotate the back leg, square the hips, draw the shoulders back, chest moves forward. One more breath. And then to come out, just exhale, release the left foot down, and we'll just swap sides from here. So you can just step the right foot back. Again, the right toes are in front of the heel. There's not a huge space between the heels, and the heels are more or less in line, hips facing forward. So if you can find the floor with the flat back, and do so, or you can bring your hands onto your shins, or if you've got those blocks or block, two blocks, one either side of the foot, one block just in front of the toes. Press down through the hands, draw the shoulders back, draw the chest forward, feel the neck long, square the hips, firm the thighs, draw the navel up to the spine. Breathe. And then transitioning into our balance or half balance. So again, if you want to use the blocks, it can be quite an interesting way to do it. Take your hands quite far forward, step forward. You might need to take them a bit further forward once you get up to them, more or less underneath the shoulders. Internally rotate the back leg, toes point towards the floor, and then focus on finding the neutral curve in the back. So if you also want to try this in the full posture, it's much harder. Really find your core, lift the hands off the blocks and reach them forward dynamically. Stretch fingertips forward, heel back. This is going to help open and strengthen the upper back. Breathe into the space behind the heart. And then to come out of this, just come to stand. So bring the right foot to join the left, and we arrive in Tadasana. Just take a moment here. deep breaths. Okay, so one more standing posture and then we'll come down. We'll step to the long edge of the mat with the feet wide. And we've already kind of done this with the feet hip distance apart, but we'll do another twist, but focusing on thoracic spine only. So again, if you know your hamstrings are tight, have your block ready in front of you. Hands on the hips, roll those shoulders back, squeeze the elbows towards each other. Inhale, lift the space behind the heart, lift the chest, exhale, forward fold. And just take a moment, head dropping, allowing ourselves to come into the more kind of relaxed, rounded back version just for a moment. So know we're working hard. Breathe fully. And then we're going to just do the same. We're going to have the right hand underneath the face, and you want to press the palm down. So if your palm doesn't reach the floor, again, use the block even on its highest setting, and take your left hand onto the lower back. We've done this already. The feet closer together, and then from here, press through the right hand and look. Draw the left shoulder back and look up over your left shoulder. Probably your right hip's dropped. So just see if you can kind of keep that lower back level. Try not to kind of drop the right hip. Keep the lower back flat. And again, if you want to try lifting the left arm, do, but just be aware it's probably not going to be vertical. If it's vertical, you've probably gone into the lower back and dropped that right hip. Okay, but extend up through the fingertips, push down through right. Just accept when we work with thoracic twists, it's not as far, but we want to just open it to its full capacity as best we can. Exhale, release the left hand down, swap sides. So left hand underneath the face, right hand on the lower back. Feel it like you could serve a cup of tea off there. And then don't let it move. Try to keep pressing up through the left hip, because that's what's going to drop here as you draw the right shoulder back towards the spine. Look up over the right shoulder, and then maybe lift the right hand. If you just need to check, take your right hand back onto the lower back. If it feels different, you've probably sunk in the left hip. Draw your navel up to the spine and draw up on your kneecap, so we feel very firm here. Push down through your left hand, reach through your right fingertips. And as you exhale, bring the hands back, down, bring the right hand down, bring the hands to the hips, bend the knees slightly, and then reach the fingertips forward. So try not to hang back in your heels, so the torso is parallel to the floor. You might need to bend the knees slightly, but try not to hang back in the heels. Try and keep the feet evenly distribute, weight evenly distributed on the feet. Release the hands back to the hips, take a little bend, and inhale, come up to stand. Well done. Step or jump the feet together. We're going to come down onto our bellies. You can meet us down there if you just want to flop down now. Otherwise, one more vinyasa down to our bellies. So standing at the front of the mat. Inhale, raise the hands, extend up through the fingertips, slight back bend. Exhale, fold and drop the head for a moment. Inhale, look up. Don't cut yourself short here. Full inhale. Exhale, step back to the plank. Pause in the plank, couple of breaths. Push the floor away, broaden the space between the shoulder blades. Strong legs. And then on your next exhale, lower down, knees on or off the floor, and come all the way down onto your belly. And just take a moment to arrive. You can just rest the forehead on the backs of the hands. And just let that back relax for a moment. Okay, as we're coming back into activating it. So you'll notice we're doing a lot of back strengthening, and this is needed to help open it. Seems possibly a bit counterintuitive, but okay, so we're going to do Shalabhasana, but with a particular variation. So we'll just start with a diagonal stretch first, actually. So bring your left hand under the left shoulder, reach your right hand forward, bring the forehead to the floor. And then as you inhale, lift up the left foot and the right hand. So we've got a diagonal stretch and lift going on. Pressing back through left toes, reaching forward through right fingertips, drawing the left shoulder away from the ear. One more breath. And then exhale, release down and swap sides. Bring your right hand underneath the right shoulder. Feet are more or less together, by the way. Reach the left hand forward in front of the shoulder, and then inhale, lift left arm, right leg. And don't worry about height, think about length. Stretch left fingertips forward like you're trying to touch something out your grip, out to reach. Stretch your right toes back. One more breath. And then exhale, lower. And just take a moment here. You might want to just turn the cheek to the side, take the hands by the sides. Okay, and then this time we're going to lift everything up. We're going to do two or three different variations. So we're going to come back to that cactus position. So cactus would be elbows in line with shoulders, but we're actually bringing the elbows back as far as like we're trying to glide the elbows back and the palms are facing the floor. Okay, so when you're ready, just start in that position. So my hands are more or less, they're just slightly in front of my shoulders and wide of my shoulders. And then inhale, lift up. Lift up the feet, lift up the head, the chest, the hands. Squeeze the elbows towards each other and back. Keep the neck long. And then come down if you need. Otherwise, 3 times, we're going to inhale, extend the hands forward. Exhale, squeeze the elbows back. Inhale, extend forward. Exhale, squeeze the elbows back. Inhale, forward. Exhale, back. And release, turn the other cheek to the floor. Relax the shoulders, relax the back. Okay, last variation. If you are tired, rest. Otherwise, take your block, your brick. So brick's going to be ideal. You want your hands more or less shoulder width apart, can be a little bit less. And take the hands out in front of you and squeeze, like press the outside edges of the block with the arms at full extension. And then inhale, lift everything up. Try and have your upper arms in line with your ear. Press the brick. If it gets too much, just come back to normal Shalabhasana with the hands by the side behind you. Otherwise, a couple more breaths, reaching, extending forward, pressing the brick. And exhale, release. Bring the hands to the side, turn the cheek to the floor, and just relax the back. If you prefer, the forehead on the back of the hands. And just really let the shoulders relax and the back relax, and breathe nourishing breaths into the back again. Just a couple more breaths there. Okay, and then just from here, before we come out of our prone sequence, just come to a Sphinx back bend. So we've been really working in the upper back, but we're just going to allow the lower back to get involved here. So elbows under the shoulders, forearms parallel, spreading the fingertips, bringing or pulling the floor towards you. But as you do this, press down through the pubic bone. So we're still, even though we're moving more into the lower back now, we still don't want to overarch the lower back. So we kind of press the pubic bone down, feel like we're extending the tailbone. Maybe you feel your core and the front body a little bit, breathe deep. But we're still kind of trying to draw the shoulder blades back and down the spine. Hopefully you're starting to get a feel of this depression of the scapula. Just 2 or 3 more breaths if you want a deeper back bend, if your spine is really asking for the full opening. I quite understand. We don't want to neglect the whole spine, but we're just trying to redress the balance of how we usually neglect the thoracic spine. 1 more breath. And then slowly lower back down. Take a moment. And once again, we're going to come to child's pose, a wide knee child's pose this time. So just press yourself back up to tabletop Bring the big toes to touch, take the knees wide and just slide the hips down onto the heels. But rather than coming into that full kind of rounded back, we're really stretching the hands out in front of us and bringing the forehead down, maybe even being a bit more active in the arms. You might, if you're really enjoying this thoracic focus, you might want to come up on the fingertips, lift the elbows off the floor and bring the forehead down, and that's going to give you a bit more of a stretch in this upper thoracic area. Or relax the arms, but keep them outstretched. Breathe into the back. It's like we're trying to get length in the side body here as well as the spine. Okay, and then just start to walk the hands back into you, in towards you, and bring the knees together. So when we're moving towards our peak posture, we'll just do one more preparatory posture before we do. We're going to come into some back bending and feel the difference. But before we do, one last kind of thoracic strengthener is the dolphin. This is a wonderful posture for opening and strengthening this part of the body. So when you're ready, we're going to bring the elbows down underneath the shoulders. You can keep the forearms parallel, but what tends to happen is the elbows splay and the hands come together. One way to counter that is to again take a brick between the hands and press. But the other thing you can do is keep the elbows underneath the shoulders and interlace the hands. So either of those two variations. And then we tuck the toes under, we lift the hips, the head stays off the floor, the crown of the head's hovering, and we walk the feet as close towards the elbows as we can without letting the shoulders come forward of the elbows. So if you find your shoulders forward of the elbows, walk the feet back. Press actively through the wrists, the forearms, the elbows, and to kind of feel this kind of lift and this space between the shoulders and the ears. And then kind of press the chest back towards the thighs. So it's strong work. Breathe. Try to take about 5 slow deep breaths, connect to your core. And try to let the breaths come all the way up into the upper back. And then to come out, just bring the knees down, just take a moment, maybe another little child's pose. We're going to return to this and then do something different. We'll just do a couple, so just take a moment. And when you're ready, we're going to return to dolphin, and this time, if you have the forearms parallel, this time take the interlaced fingers version. So we'll start the same, and then I'll guide us into where we're going to go next. So again, shoulders, elbows underneath the shoulders, interlace the hands, press through, tuck the toes under, lift the hips, and then press through the elbows, the forearms, the wrist. Head isn't touching the floor, looking back towards the feet, walk the feet towards the elbows. Connect to your core. Find the strength in the legs, but really focus on the upper back. It's almost like, it's a sense of almost trying to push the elbows away from each other without them moving to broaden this upper back. Breathe into the upper back. And then the final sting into the tail. We're going to walk the feet back, lower the hips and come into the dolphin plank. You might want to just bring the palms together and really press down through the elbows. If you need to bring the knees down, do. Find that cat spine again, that broadening between the shoulder blades. And then bring the knees down, walk the knees forward. And again, just maybe have full balasana for a moment if that feels good, or just kind of rest the forehead in the hands for a moment. With the elbows bent, just take a moment to relax. And then when you're ready, we're going to come up to a kneeling position. So you're probably feeling your upper back quite a lot. You might feel this tomorrow as well. And this is a good thing. Okay, so we're going to, because when we back bend, we need the strength. We're using the muscles in the back body strongly. And as I say, this part of the spine tends to get neglected and weak. So what we tend to do in a back bend, because we overbend in the lumbar spine and the neck spine, and we underbend in the mid spine, which is less bendy anyway, but gets stuck, we tend to be more like a square. So big angle, flat bit, another big angle. And we want to be as much as an arch as possible. Okay, so we're going to try this in a couple of different back bends. We're going to start with Ustrasana, the camel, and we'll do a couple of preparatory versions first. You might want to just have, if you've got 2 blocks, the luxury of 2 blocks, you might just want to have them back behind you, somewhere near your feet. You might use them. Okay, but for this, we'll do 3, unless you haven't got the energy, do as many as you can. But the first one, we'll all do the preparatory one, because this is really the most important, actually. The hand position, either thumbs either side of the sacrum, fingers by the hip bones, or heel of the hands either side of the sacrum, fingertips pointing down. Okay, I prefer that, but you need to be open enough in the wrists. Either way, we draw the shoulders back and down, this action we've been doing all the class, and it's like we're squeezing a beach ball between the elbows behind us, and we're squeezing a walnut between the shoulder blades. Strange combination. And then we push, we do all of that, we ground down through the knees and the shins of the feet and feel this lift, this rebound, extension through the spine, and then with all of that switched on, we push the hips forward slightly as long as the wrists allow that, and then we lift the space behind the heart. So keep drawing the shoulders back and down, elbows moving together, and feel that imaginary pokey finger behind your heart space lifting you up, and breathe into that space. Draw the tailbone under, but not so much lower back bend as upper back bend. And then inhale, come back to vertical, just take a moment. So you can keep doing that. That's just totally, well, not totally, but primarily in the thoracic. If you want to start to move towards Ustrasana, this is going to use the lumbar and the neck spine as well, but make sure your focus is still in the thoracic spine. Okay, so next one, either repeat what we just did, or if you want to make it easier, tuck the toes under, or maybe even use bricks. Your bricks are going to be just to the outside of your feet. So if you can't find your feet, we're going to come for the heels or the blocks, or the full posture, the toes are down. Once you have to use a bit of abdominal strength to get there, and once you've got purchase on the feet or the blocks, then you've got an extra tool, because you can press down to lift up. So there's always that root down to rise up. So you can press down through the hands, feel the rebound lift up in the space behind the heart, and maybe if it's comfortable, drop the head all the way back. Otherwise, you're just repeating the first one, especially if you've got low back issues, taking about 5 or so breaths. And when you come up, lead with the hips, especially if you're all the way in camel. So if you're in the preparatory one, it's not so important. You just bring the shoulders forward, come back to vertical, great, Ola. Lovely, Bernie, lift that space behind the heart. Great, lovely, Miriam. And then lead with the hips as you come up. Great, and just take a moment and just tune into your body. Is 2 enough? Or is there capacity for one more? If you've had enough, just come to kneel and take it. We're going to counter pose it, but just take the next few breaths just kneeling with a neutral spine. Otherwise, one more, because the body likes the repetition. Yeah, we'll just do one more classic Ustrasana, or the first one again. I do this all the time, it's so good. Okay, so if you're coming into Ustrasana, ground down first, feel that same sense of lifting the shoulders up, back and down, dangling the arms behind you, a little bit of abdominal work as we come back as evenly as possible. Try not to do the front crawl, back crawl thing. Find purchase and then press the hips forward and lift the space behind the heart. So if you're in Ustrasana, yes, we're bending in the lower back of the neck if we drop the head back, but we're still focusing on that, lifting the space behind the heart. All that work we've been doing, or you're doing what we did before. Have a sense of adduction of the thighs, squeezing an invisible block. Breathe fully. When you get to your deepest posture, breathe it. And then when you need to come out, lead with the hips, follow with the head if you're in the full posture. And then everybody just come down to this neutral kneeling position. So we'll take our counter postures. spine. So just let the spine settle. For many of us, when we kneel, we tend to overarch the low back. It's kind of more lordosis as opposed to kyphosis, but try and just come to neutral curves. We'll take a very gentle twist, and we don't need to be disciplined about the thoracic spine now. Just let the spine move how it wants to. Take the right hand onto the left thigh, left hand behind you. Doesn't matter if it's dangling or touching the floor. Just take a super gentle twist, looking towards your left shoulder. Spine in a neutral position. That's what we're looking for here. I want to overarch the lower back, drop the tailbone, keep the neck long. Breathe deep. Untwist, come back to the center. Take a full inhale in neutral, facing forward. And then exhale, left hand onto right thigh, right hand behind, dangling or touching the floor. Look to the right, or over the right shoulder. And then come back to the center. Drop the hips to the side. So we'll come down onto our backs. If you've had enough of strong back work and back bending, you could take a very mellow, easy supported back bend here, taking the block under the sacrum, just above the buttocks, and keeping the knees bent or straight if you prefer, legs straight. But if you want to just have one more kind of putting the pieces of the class together and feeling it in a back bend, we can just do one back bend and take more time there, so maybe 10 breaths and let it develop. So you might start in Setu Bandhasana and transition into Urdhva Dhanurasana, the full wheel, or just take 10 breaths in Setu Bandhasana. So either come to your restorative supported back bend or bring the heels into the buttocks, press down through the feet and the hands, lift the hips. And then Setu Bandhasana, we draw the shoulders underneath, we interlace the fingers and just feel how it's quite similar to the dolphin that we press down through the elbows, the forearms, the wrists, and we squeeze the shoulder blades together in this here. And this is, again, working those upper back muscles. Press strongly through the feet, feel the legs working, that kind of imaginary block between the thighs that we're squeezing, elongate the tailbone. Breathe into the upper back. And then after about 5 breaths or so, if you're feeling like you want to try what a full curve of the back feels like after today's class, you could take the hands under the shoulders and press up. And I reckon it might feel like a freer wheel than usual in the upper back, because it's always around the shoulders and the upper back, or almost always, but people tend to get stuck and restricted in the wheel. So just experience it today if you're going there. And use the breath. Once you get to the deepest expression of this back bend for you today, just breathe fully into the space behind the heart. And when you're ready to come down, slowly lowering from the upper back to the lower back. Take a neutral spine on the floor, maybe knees bent, maybe constructive rest pose. Just let all of that effort kind of drain away. We've done the work. And we're just going to do a very simple count. I want to leave a little bit of space for some pranayama just to compare. So just let your heart rate come down, let your breath extend. And then when you feel ready, just stretch the legs up in the air, reach the arms overhead. So we're back in that downward dog position that we've done. This is the 3rd way that we've done it today. Classic against the wall and now on our back. We make this L shape. And then when you feel stretched in the back body, just bend the knees into the chest, take the hands forward and hug, either holding the back of the knees or the front of the knees, the shins, and just relax here. Letting gravity do the work. If you feel a little bit of movement side to side or circling would be good, then take it. And then maybe I just let it be a relatively brief one, but if you feel like a little supine twist would be good, as well as a counter, or if you're happy just hugging the knees into the chest, then a few more breaths there, but otherwise just allow the knees to come over to the right and extend the left arm, look over the left shoulder. Just take about 3 or so full breaths. So we're not staying so long today, so quality, not quantity. Just really breathe space into the body here. Or just stay still, knees into the chest if that's feeling really good. And then inhale, come back to the center. Exhale, knees come down to the left, look over your right shoulder, maybe anchoring down the top thigh with the opposite hand. And again, because we're not spending so long here, make each breath count. Fully inhale. And exhale to release. This is a nice counter for all that back bending. Stretching the fascia of the back after all that work we've done. And then your next inhale, just come back to the center. Or actually, you could just roll to the left and push yourself up, because we're just going to briefly return to seated before Shavasana. So just come back to a seated position, and we're just going to take 5 slow, deep, conscious breaths before we come back down. Or 5 to 10, depending, we all breathe at a different rate, but just have a minute for some breathing. So just do exactly what we did at the start, just ground down through the lower body. Hopefully that is much more easy after being so embodied in the class. And then feel the torso free, the spine long, hands any comfortable position, and then just start developing your slow, deep, conscious breath. And again, just feeling it move the body from the inside, just taking your awareness internally, maybe closing the eyes, noticing where in the body you feel the breath, and probe the inner body with the breath. So we're doing 2 things. We're observing where we feel it, but we're also seeing where we can create space with the breath. And of course, we're focusing in particular in the upper back. Should be quite aware of this area of the body after all the work. You see if just in a nice, relaxed, easy way, we can just find movement in the thoracic spine and upper chest with the breath. Because when we get locked down and stuck in this area, it affects our ability to breathe fully. And many people are locked down in their breath in this way. So when we bring the mobility back, with this comes a fuller capacity of breath, or a return to our full breathing potential. We need the mobility of the spine for this. Okay, just finish the breath you're on, just observing any difference between the start of the class and now, and then when you feel ready, just come down to Shavasana in your own time. If you prefer to stay here, you're welcome, but I really encourage Shavasana because we've worked the back hard, and it would be nice to finish with it being fully supported on the floor. So we've got a couple of minutes. I might, if anybody has to dash off at 1:15, just give me a wave. Otherwise, I might just go over like a minute or something, just to give you 3 minutes or so, a decent Shavasana, because we do need to just let the back relax fully now. So we might just run over a couple of minutes, but it's worth it. Okay, so just feeling the body get heavy. And just feel a sense of the muscles just surrendering their effort, relinquishing their effort, especially those back muscles. Just feel the support of the floor beneath you. Feel the whole of the skin of the back on the floor. And just if you need to make any micro adjustments, mini adjustments to feel that, then do so. So you feel the back fully supported by the floor. And just let go, give it up. Let the floor hold you. So our spine and our back hold us, they carry us through our days, they work hard. So just giving the back a rest. Let go. Become quiet, become still, become heavy. And let the breath just return to natural breathing. You don't need to worry about the breath. And just know the work is done. Now we receive the fruits of that. Increased strength, increased openness, increased awareness, increased mobility. Just receive all these benefits of the practice with an open heart and an open mind. And just listen to your body. If it's not ready to move yet, then don't move. If you have time, take longer. But if you feel ready to move, just begin by deepening the breath, and again feeling the breath move the body. And then begin to bring small movements back. Fingers and the toes. And stretch out however you need. And just gradually return to seated. Just take your time. Let's take a moment to close, just maybe closing the eyes, maybe palms together at the chest. Maybe one more big breath into the back of the heart. And just acknowledge this practice with gratitude to your body, to your back, the spine. And when you feel complete, open the eyes again. And thank you all. Namaste. Hope you enjoyed.